In the middle of World War II, a young man in Vienna stood at a crossroads. He held a paper that could save his life, but also could mean leaving his family behind. This paper was not just ink and words. It was a visa to escape the growing danger of Nazi attacks. Still, the offer applied only to him, not his family. Days passed. Fear grew. Then, in a quiet corner of his parents' home, he found something old, a stone from a broken synagogue. It showed part of a commandment. The stone had words from long ago. Honor your father and mother. In a time full of hate and fear, these words gave him peace and understanding. By staying, he knew he risked death. But leaving meant turning away from loved ones. In a world gone dark, he chose to stay in the shadows with them. This choice changed his life forever. He would face suffering, but also discover something powerful. Light can be found even in the darkest places of life. After choosing to stay with his family during the war, Viktor Frankl's story continues with his early passion for medicine and questions about life and death. Even as a small child, Frankl dreamed of being a doctor. At only 4 years old, he realized that one day he would die. This early thought shaped his future path. As a teenager, Frankl became deeply interested in psychology and philosophy. In high school, he gave a speech called On the Meaning of Life. Frankl's interest grew stronger when he wrote a paper about thinking and feelings. He sent it to Sigmund Freud, a famous psychologist of the time. To his surprise, Freud wanted to publish the paper. This moment gave young Frankl great motivation and made him believe in his ideas even more. Later, Frankl met Freud by chance in a park. Freud remembered who he was and even knew his home address, which left Frankl amazed and proud. During his school years, Frankl was also active in politics. He joined a group called the Young Socialist Workers and later became their president. While his friends played and relaxed, Frankl used his time to read, write, and take part in deep talks. His love for helping others grew stronger. As a young adult, he entered the University of Vienna to study neurology and psychiatry, where he started learning more about the human mind. After entering the University of Vienna, Frankl focused on neurology and psychiatry, the studies of the brain and mental health. He worked hard to learn fast. At first, he followed Sigmund Freud's ideas, but later he moved toward Alfred Adler's beliefs. Both men were top thinkers in understanding people's minds. Even after changing his thinking, Frankl respected Freud. He kept a small statue of him in his office to remember how much Freud's work inspired him. Frankl soon began testing his ideas by helping people. He believed that life had meaning, and this belief led him to ask deep questions during his learning. He moved beyond classroom knowledge and started real work. During school, he found that many students were very sad, especially at end of the school year. Frankl made a plan to stop these young people from taking their lives. His program gave free support, which led to 0 student suicides that year. After this success, Frankl worked at a large hospital and became leader of a team that helped women struggling with dark and painful thoughts. He worked hard between 1933 and 1937 to help many women who were thinking of ending their lives. His job was important and very emotional too. Frankl wanted every person to see their life as valuable. He spoke with thousands of women over the years, trying to guide them to a better future. Along the way, Frankl grew his own way of thinking. He believed that the main drive in people's lives is the wish to find purpose and meaning. This belief led him to create a new form of therapy called logotherapy. It focused on helping people find meaning, even when life seemed hopeless. Logotherapy became Frankl's great idea. It said that if people felt their life had a reason, they could stay strong during even the hardest times. In 1938, the Nazis took control of Austria. Because Viktor Frankl was Jewish, he was no longer allowed to treat non-Jewish patients in most hospitals. He began working at Rothschild Hospital, the only place still open to help Jewish people. There, he became head of the brain and nerve department. Even while working at the hospital, Frankl waited for a chance to escape. He applied for a visa to the USA and was finally chosen to leave. But the visa only allowed Frankl to leave. His family would have to stay behind. He struggled with the decision to go or to remain with his loved ones. He found a piece of stone from a destroyed synagogue at his parents' home. On it were the words, "Honor your father and mother," which guided his choice. Choosing his family over safety, Frankl stayed in Austria. Just a year later, in 1942, Frankl, his wife, and parents were arrested and sent to a camp. They were first sent to Theresienstadt, a camp where Frankl helped other prisoners by opening a clinic and watching for signs of suicide or deep sadness. His father died there after only 6 months. Frankl, his mother, and his wife were later sent to the Auschwitz camp, where even worse things would happen. On arrival, men and women were split. His wife went to Bergen-Belsen. His mother stayed with him. Many, like his mother, were killed in gas chambers. Frankl avoided death by secretly switching lines. He was put in a group sent to forced labor, not execution. He didn't find out until later that he survived by luck. Life in Auschwitz was cold and painful. The shed they first stayed in was made for a few people, but held over 1,000 without proper food or space. Despite the horrible suffering, Frankl tried to help others. Many people died from hunger, disease, and abuse. Still, he looked for ways to survive each day. He watched hungry, sick prisoners suffer and die. Still, he kept thinking about his wife to give himself hope and meaning. He did not know if she was alive. In Bergen-Belsen, his wife's health got worse. She died before the war ended, but Frankl would not learn this until later, after being set free by soldiers. In April 1945, American forces arrived and freed the camp. Frankl was one of the few survivors. He had lost family, but kept his will to live and help others. While walking to hard labor in freezing cold, Viktor Frankl would imagine lecturing to people in a warm hall, speaking about surviving suffering during the camp life. This vision helped him feel a little hope and gave him strength to keep going. Thinking of the future made the pain and hunger a bit easier to carry each day. He later said that this act of imagining helped protect his mind. Even in the middle of great sadness, he found a purpose by thinking he might help others later. One of the biggest sources of hope for Frankl was the love he felt for his wife. He would imagine her face and their times together to fight the darkness inside. Even when he wasn't sure if she was alive, thinking of her gave a warm and strong feeling. It became the light that helped him walk through cold and pain. He later wrote that love was the most powerful drive in human life. For him, love gave meaning, and meaning helped him survive the hardest moments in camp. Frankl also saw small acts of goodness in the camps. Some prisoners shared food or gave comfort, even though they had very little left for themselves. These acts showed him that people could still choose to be kind, even in terrible situations. For Frankl, this proved that humans have choice and freedom inside. He believed that although people could lose almost everything, they could still choose how to react. That idea became the heart of his thinking after the war. Frankl's core belief was that people always have something left, the freedom to choose how they think and feel, even when life becomes a nightmare. This belief came from what he saw in the camps. Even with pain, hunger, and death, he knew he could control his own attitude toward what was happening. He saw that finding meaning in suffering was the only way to stay alive in spirit. To him, attitude was the last real choice a person could make in suffering. After Frankl was freed from the camps in 1945, he had no idea if any family had survived. He learned that only his sister was alive, who had escaped to Australia. Despite the pain of losing his family, Frankl started again. He had his training, ideas, and a new mission: to share what he learned about the meaning of life. In just 9 days, he wrote a powerful book. The book, called Man's Search for Meaning, told both his story and his ideas about finding purpose through suffering. His book quickly became popular. It helped people who felt lost or sad. He explained that people do not just need comfort, they need to believe life has meaning. Frankl explained that pain becomes easier if a person sees purpose in it. That is the base of his method, logotherapy, which became widely respected after the war. Helping people find meaning gave them strength. Frankl's idea was that our reason for living, even in hard times, could save us from hopelessness. In 1946, Frankl returned to work in Vienna. He led the Polyclinic of Neurology, where he continued his study and therapy work with people needing mental help. 2 years later, Frankl finished a PhD in philosophy. He now knew science and deep thinking and used both to grow his logotherapy ideas in teaching and practice. Frankl also found new love. In 1947, he married Eleanor and they had a daughter. His family brought new joy after the deep losses he suffered during the war. His daughter later became a psychiatrist, just like him. She worked to help children with mental problems, following her father's path to guide others. Frankl's new family gave his daily life happiness, but his work always stayed important. He taught at the University of Vienna until 1990, helping students learn. He used both his deep pain and his strong spirit to teach that meaning is not something we find by luck. It is something we create, even in the worst times. After returning to Vienna, Viktor Frankl not only worked in hospitals but also started teaching his ideas at universities in Europe and around the world. By the 1950s, Frankl's logotherapy was gaining attention. In 1961, he was invited to Harvard as a visiting professor. Over time, he taught at over 200 schools. Everywhere he went, Frankl spoke about finding meaning in life. Students listened closely as he shared how purpose can help people face suffering and grow. Frankl also appeared on television to talk about his ideas. His thoughts reached people not only in classrooms, but now also homes across the globe. In his interviews, he explained how meaning and responsibility go together. He felt people must not only be free, but use that freedom in a good way. He believed strong values could guide choices. By choosing meaning over sadness and giving life a goal, people could protect their minds and hearts. One of Frankl's dreams was to build something called the Statue of Responsibility in the United States, as a partner to the Statue of Liberty. The idea was simple: freedom matters, but it must come with care for others. Responsibilities are just as important as rights in a peaceful world. Though the statue was not built during his life, many people supported the plan. It became a symbol of choosing what is right instead of only what is free. Frankl's message to the world was simple but deep. Even in pain, people can choose love, meaning, and hope. These choices help them live a better, fuller life. He believed suffering does not destroy us if we find purpose in it. This belief shaped his therapy and taught people to ask not what they want from life, but what life wants from them. Instead of falling into despair, Frankl asked people to focus on their reason to live. He helped them explore questions like, what makes life worth living for me? Frankl's ideas changed the way therapy worked. His method, logotherapy, became part of how people treat sadness, fear, and feeling lost in life. Instead of focusing just on problems, he helped people look at their strengths. He believed meaning could be found in work, love, or how a person faced pain. Counselors using Frankl's method would ask deep questions to find a person's unique reason for living. This helped people move forward during hard times. Through his work and words, Viktor Frankl built a powerful legacy. He showed people that meaning is more important than comfort or easy answers. His books, especially Man's Search for Meaning, were read across many countries. The lessons spoke to people of all cultures and ages. Logotherapy became part of mental health care in many places. Frankl's name remains honored for helping people find hope and inner strength. Frankl taught that freedom must come with care and duty. He said people are free to choose, but they must also act with kindness and purpose toward others. To show this idea, he suggested building a statue of responsibility as a mirror to the Statue of Liberty. The world, he said, needs both freedom and care. This dream was not just about a building, it was about how we live together. Freedom is powerful, but it grows safer and stronger when mixed with values. Even at the end of his life, Frankl continued sharing his ideas. He still gave talks, answered letters, and supported young people learning therapy. He spoke about how suffering had given him a clearer view of life. Hard times, he said, helped him understand what joy and peace really were. He reminded people that even when everything is taken away, they still have one gift: the power to choose their own attitude toward life.